My name is Marilyn Lee, and I serve as the executive director at Loving Houston, where we are connecting churches and schools to love all our local students and teachers in Jesus' name. Today's devotional comes from John 15:12. This is my commandment, that you love one another just as I have loved you. Dr. Lawrence Scott of Harvest Point Fellowship Church spoke recently at one of our church school partnership leaders gatherings. And one thing he said in particular really stuck out to me. He said, "Our ability to be reconciled is a witness to the world. If they can't get it together themselves, then what good is this gospel that they preach?" There is a lot of division in our world today. But to be honest, there's been a lot of division in our world for a long time. For example, in Jesus' time, we all know about the division between the Jews and the Samaritans, the religious leaders and the tax collectors. But I love that Jesus made time to interact with everyone. I also love that many times it wasn't actually Jesus who took the initiative to reach out. People were constantly reaching out to Jesus because of what they knew about him. They knew that he was compassionate, that he healed people, that he fed people, that he made time to get to know people of all types. And yes, of course, because his teaching was also unlike anything they'd heard from the other religious leaders. But those first few characteristics I mentioned are often what brought people out in the first place. More than 100 schools throughout Greater Houston have asked for a church partner. Many times it is a Christian principal or counselor who would love to have fellow believers investing in the lives of their students. But other times, it's someone who has heard that Christians are supposed to be loving. And so they think that a church and a school working together to care for their students just makes sense. But now, as the church is becoming more and more divided, I wonder how long this perception will last. Right now, principals and school counselors are actively seeking out churches to model God's love, to help feed their children, to share wisdom, to make time to eat with the kids. It is mostly on Zoom for now, but it'll most likely be in person again in the fall. All of this is just like what the people in Jesus' time asked of him. The schools here in Greater Houston have taken the initiative to reach out to churches because they know that we're to love as Jesus loved us. Here's something simple to start with. Over the next 2 weeks, we will be praying for our local schools. It has been a challenging year for teachers, school staff, and students alike. And we are praying that God would lift the spirits of students and staff, and that he would provide physically, spiritually, and emotionally in these last 2 months of school. Let's join together as the Big C Church and pray in Jesus' name over every school, every family, and every teacher in Greater Houston. I assure you that those who see the church coming together to love our children and teachers in Jesus' name, they will, as Dr. Scott mentioned, they will want to know the gospel we're preaching. So may we love each other just as Jesus loved us. You can check out lovinghouston.net/prayer for details.